Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
All right, so I'm recording now, and basically what we have then is every one of our apprentices and our instructors gets one of. Let me know if you can see my card here in the camera. We get like a QR card like this, and this QR number matches the one that we have on our UA cards. So what we do as an instructor is, we open up the ISAQR app, which is what you're seeing on your screen now. And then I would just tap this scan QR icon at the top, and it's going to ask me, do you want me to remember this account on this device? Sure, I'm an instructor, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan my card, and you can see in the top left, it's got my name up here now as an instructor. And if I go on the top left corner where the menu button is, I have some extra icons here that apprentices don't have, like QR attendance, login request, a couple of other items there. So on the day of a class, what an instructor will do is they'll click on this QR attendance menu item, and it'll take them to a screen that says, oh, hey, we need you to enter a password now. And then every instructor has got their own unique password. And I know you can see mine, it doesn't really matter. Not hiding anything on there. So now I'm going to get a message that says, hey, do you want to mark people for sign in or sign out? Which this is kind of confusing too, because we never used the sign out feature. Apparently, it's not even set up for us through ISAQR, but this is something that they have set up for other locals. We have some instructors with large classes who would prefer to be able to use the sign out feature when we get back to doing in-person classes. That way, if somebody tries to leave, if they got 80, 100 apprentices in their class, it's hard to keep track of everyone. That's probably something we can discuss with Charles on if that's a function he wants. I know
Yeah,
that.
but how would that sign out? How would you guys see that sign out happening when the apprentice is leaving? They'd have to scan it again, or how's that happen then?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably why we're not really using it. Um, Obviously, if they don't sign out, if they don't sign in and sign out, then they wouldn't get credit. They'd have to do both. So if they left early and they weren't there for an instructor to scan their card out, then they don't get credit. It would be a both icon thing. But I'm thinking that most likely Charles is going to want to just stick with the sign in only feature.
Mhm.
Um, because if an instructor is having problems with people leaving early, then what they maybe should do is just sign in at the end of class then instead. You know.
Yeah, that would probably solve that.
So I hit the sign in button because that's the only one we're using, which brings me to this screen here, and it says I need to select a class from the drop down menu, and I have a test class set up. It's the only class I can see. Now, what Charles does with this and the way he wants to keep it is this class is only available on the day of the class. So like me as an instructor, if I tried to, you know, log into this app yesterday, this test class, even though it was set up in advance for me, it wouldn't show up here. I wouldn't see it if I was logging in through the app yesterday. I have to be logged in on the day of the class to be able to even see this class.
And yeah, now this only just obviously you have a bunch of classes, so it knows your class based on when you do your initial scan or when you log in, it knows the classes that are related to you as opposed to other classes.
So the classes are set up by the JTC national office in advance for each instructor. So when I, as an instructor, log in on the day I'm supposed to be teaching the class, my topic will already be listed here in conjunction with whatever topic I was already supposed to be teaching. Those are set
You're
up.
not going to see any other instructors' classes in
I'm
your
never
list.
going to have another issue. Yeah, I'm never going to have another option to pick another class. I'm either going to see the class that I'm supposed to be teaching, or there'll be nothing listed here and I won't be able to scan people in.
And do you have more than one class per day sometimes, or is it just one class per day?
Yeah, just one class per day. And
Okay.
typically all of our
You never
instructors.
see multiple. You never see multiple classes in there. It's just your classes for that day is all you would see basically.
Right.
Okay.
So I click on this test class here. That's the one I want to do. And then you can see now up in the drop down menu, it says test. So I'm going to hit submit. That's the class I want to scan people in with. And now I have an option to either enter manually the apprentices QR codes, or I can scan them. So I'm going to go ahead, and I got a couple of apprentice cards here just to do an example, but I'm going to hit scan QR, which pulls up the camera, and then I'm going to scan in this person, Daniel Stolen. He's an apprentice for my area. And I'm going to say, yep, I want to mark him here, mark attendance for this test class. So continue. I always get this pop-up menu that says this user is not assigned for the selected class. Would I like to assign this user? I'm going to say yes. This is something that, again, it's an ISAQR function. We didn't assign apprentices specifically to instructors. So if I'm an apprentice in Las Vegas, but I'm in Los Angeles for the weekend, I can go and attend that instructor's class. And when they scan my card, I would be able to attend. That may be something that we're looking to do differently now that we were talking about having the instructors have the ability to send a message just to their apprentices that are assigned to them, within the app. So this might be something that is a little bit different going forward. But for right now, there's no apprentices assigned to any instructors through ISAQR. So the instructor would simply say, yep, I want to still, I know he's not assigned to me, but I still want him to have attendance. So then it just brings up the menu again, and I want to hit scan QR because I got another apprentice I need to sign in for the class. I have the same thing. Do I want to mark Tyler Donnelly here for the class? Yes, I do. Hey, he's not assigned to you. I know, but he's still here. And then we'll just do one more. Same thing, scan QR. And that was my cards. I'm going to try this one for Tyler DeBruno. Continue. And I know he's not assigned to me, but we'll just do these three people here. So now we're done. We're done with class. So I can just go ahead and cancel out of this. And if I were, as the instructor, to go back now and check my online attendance, I should be able to see the three apprentices.
That made you log in again there when you went back to that?
Different password. It's just the last four of my social. But yeah, I do have the ability, and this is the thing that we're telling you. So right now, as an instructor, I can go back and I can look at the three apprentices that I scanned in. We want the ability to be able to print this out through the new app. We can't really do anything with this from here. There are some buttons on here: tardy, absent, hours. This is just something that's built into ISAQR. We don't really care about a tardy or an absent button because, if we scanned them in, then they're here. We're not gonna just have them listed.
You scan them in and then say they're not there. That doesn't really make too much sense.
Yeah. If for some reason we scan an apprentice in at the beginning of class and then they left, what we would do is we would just email the office and say, hey, I had an apprentice I scanned in and they left, and they can manually take him back off of the roster. The hours is something that's set up from the office. So we have a couple of classes, depending on what type of class they are, they're worth different hours. A regional class is worth 8 hours because they attend the class quarterly, whereas a normal instructor class is worth 5 hours because they're teaching monthly. These hours, we have no hours for this. It's just a test class. But if this were a normal class, when the office set up my test class or my whatever class it is that I'm teaching, then the hours would already be allocated in there for that class. So it's nothing the instructor does. As far as
and that's just an hours total of that specific class, like that class went 4 hours that day, or that's the total of all the classes involved in that particular class, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, I think we're probably complicating that a little bit. There's not a whole bunch of classes uh, comprised of one class we're teaching. So think of it as, Saturday we're teaching a class on whatever topic. That
Mm.
topic is going to be worth five
That's the
hours
total hours of that class there.
of
That's
that
what,
one day. Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
because our apprentices have an annual hourly requirement that they're required to achieve for training to move forward in the program. So anyways, this hours section is something that the instructor would not have the ability to change. They're not going to go in and say, oh, well, my class was supposed to be 5 hours, but we only taught 4 hours today, or we went long and we taught 6 hours. They're not going to have the ability to change any of that. This is set up in advance by the office because all these classes have pre-assigned hours to them already, and that's part of our accredited program. The reason here in the comment section, we probably don't even need those at all. That's just that's stuff that an instructor does have the ability to go through and make some notes on. But I don't know that when somebody makes the notes here, the office isn't really looking for any notes to be made. They're just looking at the name to be populated in the database if they were scanned in. So we could circle back around to this conversation with Charles to see if, maybe this Tyler DeBruno guy, maybe he left early. So maybe I put a note in here, but this isn't going to flag anything to the office anyways. So
Hmm.
that instructor is going to have to email, the JTC office and say, hey, this Tyler DeBruno guy, he can't get credit. He left. Me as an instructor, once I scan an apprentice in, I don't have the ability to remove them.
Okay.
And I believe that's how Charles would like to keep it. He wants to keep the control to make those changes only with the national office. So the instructor's ability is just to be able to scan them in, and that's where he wants that part to end. So this reason and comment, I don't believe that there's even a need for them, um, because if there's going to be an issue with anyone we scanned in, we are just going to email the office directly. But like I said, we do want the ability right now. So I don't have a way of like emailing this form or anything to myself. Um, I can't print it out. I can't do anything with it. All I can do is view it through the app. And we would like the ability to be able to print this out or be able to email this electronic form out. Once I've scanned it and I go back and look at it, I want to be able to get to it without going back into the app. That way, if I need to print it or something to give a roster for expenses or something, I can do that.
Okay.
And that's
Makes sense.
that's pretty much the function of the scanning apprentice in. What happens once we do this? It takes about 45 minutes for what I scanned in here to sync up with the database back at the national office, and then it takes about another 45 minutes for that data to sync back up. So now if I'm an apprentice, for an example, who wants to check my attendance, did I get credit for this class? I can scan my own card, um, and then go to the menu, and you can see me as an apprentice, I have less options here. I can't do QR attendance or anything else, but I want to see which classes I've attended. Um, and actually, this guy's done a bunch of other test classes, so it might be a little bit confusing. But if you look at the date, 2/22/20 was the last one. So the class that I just scanned in for this Tyler Donnelly isn't here yet. It'll take about 45 minutes for it to sync back up, 45 minutes to an hour. But uh, if I'm Tyler DeBruno, for an example, he's got some other classes. So he's actually attended other classes. These are classes that we've taught. So he's done valve repair, NFPA 13, chapter 16. We've done a couple of test sessions with him too. I use it frequently, but there's the date of the class, and where it says attended is one. The absence and tardy icon, again, if we're not going to use those in the instructor profile view, they don't even need to show up here. So if you look at see, does he have, yeah, a class? So it used to be, and I think this is actually better. but it used to be that every single class that was going to be taught that year would show up in the app, and then me as an apprentice, I would have to go and look at that attended section to see if there's a 1 or a 0 there, to see if I, looking back, making sure I attended all the amount of classes I needed to for that year. Now the class only shows up if I actually attended, and then the attended just has 1. So it's actually probably redundant a little bit. If we're going to have the function when an apprentice scans their card of just seeing the classes and the class date, I would think that the attended 1 doesn't even really need to be there, because the class, if I didn't attend it, it just wouldn't even be there to begin with. I wouldn't even see it.
So how do you guys deal with absentees then? If you're just scanning people that's there, what happens to the people that aren't in the class? How do those absentees get accounted for then?
Yeah, so at the end of the year, the national office runs a report, and anyone who didn't achieve their hours, their required hours, get held in classification. They don't get raises. They don't move on in the apprenticeship program. They have to do some makeup stuff.
But there's not like, you can't go to a list of an apprentice and go to, like, look at their absentees and it'll show you a list of the classes they missed or whatever on the dates.
You go to an apprentice, you'll be able to see the classes they attended and then deduct
But not
the classes they didn't attend.
Yeah, that's why it seems like this attendance and the absentee on this screens doesn't make too much sense, or even tardies, I guess, unless you guys are tracking those tardies.
We're not doing anything with the tardy, because we don't really, it's an instructor discretion. So if I'm an apprentice and I show up 5 minutes late, and instructor's still going through announcements or something, and he chooses to let me in, well, then I'm going to get credit for the class. If I'm an apprentice and I show up 30 minutes late and class is already ongoing, the instructor may or may not let the apprentice in, depending on the circumstance. It's solely their discretion. So if he turns me away from the class or allows me to sit into the class, I may not get credit. He wouldn't just scan me in and mark me tardy. He just wouldn't scan me in. I wouldn't get credit.
Okay, makes sense.
And then in this part of the app is where you've seen some of the other stuff that you guys had the screenshots for. Like if I'm Tyler DeBruno and I go to my certifications, that's where I can see my OSHA, for an example, certificate. This is all stuff that's entered in from the national office.
And that's stored on that that opens up a web page that you go to.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this stuff, it sounds to me like, they scan this document in to something that the database links to. If I go back to that, the only thing
in the actual app, we can display that like an iframe in the app instead of actually popping the user out to the browser when you're doing that. And it seems like the click when you go to the details on this doesn't have much more detail than, or is this the screen, or is that what the class is? That goes directly to the PDF when you click on the arrow?
So it takes me to yeah. So if I'm talking OSHA, for an example, like we just did, it just says, it has my OSHA date, which is the same information, like you say, that you see on this screen. So it doesn't give you any more information. It probably would be nice that instead of clicking on this to go to a screen that doesn't give me any more information to view the document, that view document button is just,
the link's right there on the initial screen. That would make sense.
And whether that view document, I don't know how this app is going to talk to the database that they're currently using in the national office, but however, if that's something that you guys could host, however, where they just see it without it sending them to the browser, that would be fine. Or if it still sends them to the browser, I don't think that's the end of the world either. I would leave that to your discretion, whatever's the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's easiest for the people in the office to upload the document to, so it can be viewed, and whatever's easiest to host. So I don't think we have a.
Yeah, and again, I don't think we want to change. I don't think we want to change anything on the office back end of what they're doing. We just want to tie into what they're doing and feed it through this new app. So
it may just open up that web browser then, possibly.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe there's a possibility of embedding that image inside the app, so you can see it right inside the app. We'll have to obviously get to that when we get to the details of how these screens are working out and that. So, okay.
If I go back to the menu and I click on this other info, this is that section we talked about, not calling it that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it has a bunch of information, some of which we don't mind the general public to be able to see, but some of which should probably only be able to be seen if you logged in as the apprentice. So
Yeah.
this is, if I'm just a user, a contractor, a business agent, if I'm just anybody, I'm not Tyler DeBruno. He doesn't have none of our apprentices have any login information to see what we're looking at right now. If you downloaded this app and you had Tyler's QR code, you could see exactly what I'm seeing right now on his stuff too. It's open for everyone to see. So some of this information on here is fine, especially if I'm a contractor and I want to check this guy's status to see if I want to hire him or not. But certainly things like what we talked about as far as address and contact information and all that probably shouldn't be seen by everyone. That should just, that an apprentice should have to log into their account and then they can verify that their stuff is fine. And as we talked about, if it's not, if something changed, if they move, they got a new phone number or whatever, we don't want them to have the ability to change it themselves. They'll have to put that request in to have it changed, maybe have a button there for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably want to take a look at this list and see what anyone can see, and then what only an apprentice can see their own information.
Yeah, I think based on what we've talked about, it's a street address, phone number, maybe email at this point. But certainly if you have, if you guys come to, discuss it and have any of the other ones you want to change, we'll mark those as being only viewable by the apprentice themselves. Well, obviously the admins and instructors can probably see them, but.
So then right here, I had to scan a different apprentice in, but it's all the same stuff would show. But then we got this icon for penalty, and if I clicked on that, it shows that, oh man, I was delinquent 12 lessons from Washtenaw. So I think that's a good thing to still have in there as well. That shows the apprentice and a contractor who may be hiring them that this person's gone 1 quarter delinquent already, and could either be he's still active but he's delinquent. If this goes on too much longer, then he would be expelled and actually not even hireable. So.
And delinquent means he didn't come to his job, or is that what that is saying?
No, it syncs up with, so let me go back and show you where other info. Do you see down here, lesson or item number 4 says lesson required, 158. So this is where that information comes from. This is synced through the database from the college. So they're required to do 1 lesson per week of distance education, and they have to get a total of 12 in per quarter. So in this example, items number 4 shows that by September 30th, he has to have 158 in. As of right now, he has 134 in.
Okay, so that's the 16.
Yeah, and he was delinquent last quarter. So if he were to become delinquent this quarter, if he didn't get his 158 in, then he would then become suspended for work for 5 days, and he'd have to get caught up before he could go back to work. If he went delinquent a 3rd quarter, either due to classes or apprentices, then he would be expelled and he wouldn't even be hireable. So that's kind of good information to keep in there for a contractor who's thinking about hiring a guy. He can scan this card, see if he has any penalties.
Okay.
Any other issue? Anything else you want to see? There's not really a whole lot more that we.
Yeah, I mean, I think we discussed most of it in our last meeting. The process you went through before for the attendance, really, that clears up a lot of things. I'm gonna put some notes together, share it with everyone here. But if you could share the recording you've done today with me, I'll watch that again and maybe add some more notes to my notes. And then we'll work on getting that wireframe that you guys saw updated based on our meeting and based on this, and get at least some consensus on the basic functionality and structure of the app before we kind of move forward and more on this.
Sure.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, no problem at all. What I'll do is I'll just upload this to YouTube and send you a YouTube link then once we're done with it.
Okay, that'll work.
All
All right,
right.
was there anything else you wanted to go over with me, Jeff?
That's all the information that I have. Certainly, once you have a chance to look at your update the wire diagram that you guys have, then we can circle back around to a conversation with Charles and figure out any of the little nuances if you want something changed or not.
Yeah, we'll probably do a meeting kind of like we did before, just kind of go through the wireframe step by step as opposed to just kind of dropping it on you guys. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jeff, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much as well. I'm going to stop recording now, and then I will shoot this over to you as soon as I get it converted.